What's up, guys? It's your girl Kia. I escaped from work in baby jail. No, I'm just kidding. Our filter in our fish tank broke all of a sudden. It was making this loud, crazy noise. So my mom and my son had been up since like 4:30. I thought it was just all the equipment we have in our room for our baby. So I went back to sleep. I ignored it. There's just all this humming going on. Our filter died, and I had to get a new filter to make sure that our fish don't die. But no one cares about that. So I recorded this video earlier, and my thoughts weren't very concise. And I really value the fact that I can be concise while I'm in the car. When I'm talking to you guys and recording YouTube videos, so I'm redoing the video. This video is about Angela Stanton, and it's not just about her interview on Dr. Phil. That was abhorrent. It wasn't about her interview on Hollywood, not just about her interview on Hollywood Unlocked. That was also abhorrent times 5. This is about being a parent of a trans child and how the Black community looks at trans people. Like most things, like being gay, the Black community is going by mostly the Bible. And Angela was saying how it's you know, biologically he's still a man, this and that. It's a lot of things that have held up in specifically with Black people when it comes to being trans and having trans children. In Angela's case, Angela has a trans daughter, meaning her son is transitioning into being a woman. He's going from being called Javion to JB's. I don't think there's any surgery that's taking place. I think JB's is just really kind of an Instagram influencer who enjoys the feminine side of his personality and wants to live that life and considers himself, saying that for a reason, a female and wants to be identified as such. And I don't know anything, not a lot about the trans community, but I know if you want to be identified as a woman and that's how you feel, and this is what helps you feel better and feel like a whole person, a whole complete person, I'm going to call you that. No matter what, I think the biggest takeaway from this that Angela wasn't understanding in either her Dr. Phil interview or her Hollywood Unlocked interview is that you want the people in your life that you love and cherish to feel like whole and complete people. And when a lot of LGBTQI, well, not QIA, because I think it's interchangeable, the last of those letters, a lot of the LGBT community, before they're allowed to be who they are, you know, Elliot Page is an example, they feel lost and alone, and like, if they can't be who they are, they you know, will take their own life. And to me, if you want to identify as what you feel, instead of taking your own life, then identify however makes you happy, however makes you feel like your spirit is uplifted. I am okay with that. Angela and a lot of people in the Black community are not like that. She's very anti her son transitioning, not people in her life. And she kind of made this argument of, because I guess there's another person, Shauna, who's in her life, who's transgender, and she walks a fine line with Shauna. She says, you know, Shauna identifies as a female, I'm gonna call her that, and I'm fine with that. I can't do that with my son because I know he came out of me and he has a penis. I didn't give birth to Shauna. That argument makes about 3% of sense. The rest of the 97%, it doesn't make sense. You know Shauna is trans. You know Shauna was born with a penis, and you are completely okay with Shauna identifying as a female. So what's different about your son doing it? She keeps bringing up, well, biologically, I know I gave birth to him. I named him. Here's his birth certificate that says he's male. So I know he's male. So I know he's a man. He can't ever be a woman. But Shauna, even though because she didn't come out of me, I don't know. And she can identify as she wants to. The argument doesn't make sense. I know women who are trans. I didn't give birth to them. I know they're telling me they're trans, and I can tell by the fact that they're tall and they still kind of have their shape that's kind of masculine. I know they were born as men. They didn't come out of me, but I know they were born as men. I know they had penises, and I know they went through transition, and they are women, and that's what it is. So her interview on Dr. Phil, Angela Stanton in general is problematic, and not because she's a Trump supporter. she's problematic because she's a one-issue voter. And I always think one-issue voters are extremely dangerous people. She's extremely pro-life. Even though she has never once explained what happens after being pro-life with all the people, all the babies she wants to be born, she's never explained that I'm 100% for a welfare state, where we are now supporting all these children across the world, across the United States, that nobody wants. She's never explained the fact that, okay, this could harm the foster care system. She's never stated how we're going to change the laws just in case, someone does get an abortion, or just in case someone, finds out they're pregnant and harms themselves and, to end the pregnancy. Or what if a girl didn't know they were pregnant? And it's a whole different things that pro-life people, after the baby is born, never wants to explain it. Angela is one of those people. Her interview with Dr. Phil was eye-opening because she didn't talk to her child. I don't even need to say he or she, her child, the person that she gave birth to, that she's loved for years. And we'll get into that part in a second. She couldn't even treat her child with love and respect. Let's take the trans out of it. Your child is sitting in front of you, clearly distraught about your parenting, clearly hurt and dismayed by how you have treated them, and you can't even muster enough to say, I love you as my child, I will always love you, but the transition thing is confusing for me. And because you are transitioning, it means that my son had to die and go away, and I will never get the life that I built up for him in my head. She could have just said that. It's never that. It's always like, he's got a penis. He's got a penis, right? He still's got a penis. Like, girl, and that to me is just, it's so weird when she kept saying that over and over again. This is his birth certificate. Me and his father, see, it says male. We named him. So, number one, people get name changes all the time. That has nothing to do with anything. The having a penis thing, okay, great. You can read that it says male. Great. You can identify that when he came out, he had a penis. Congratulations. It does not mean that Javion, who's the one to go by JB's now, felt like a whole complete person as a biological male. Hence the reason why the person's transitioned. She also said in an interview with Dr. Phil, and she said this on Hollywood Unlocked, that she was highly educated on the issue because she has a bachelor's degree in psychology. Now, you get a bachelor's degree in 4 years. So in 4 years, you're telling me that you understand and are educated enough to talk about gender dysphoria, trans issues, and transitioning, the health costs, the everything. You in 4 years of a bachelor's degree did the dissertations, the case studies, the years of study that a lot of these doctors have gone through to actually be able to educatedly, that's not a word, anyway, discuss trans issues because you got a bachelor's degree. That to me, when she kept saying that she had the education, you don't have the education, Angela. And I'm pretty sure when you were doing your psychology courses, they maybe covered gender dysphoria maybe once or twice in the class. You didn't have a 4-year degree in psychology specializing in trans issues. I don't even think that exists right now. So her throwing up her quote unquote education to me was completely useless and didn't need to be said. Because it didn't help her argument. It made her sound, less educated. It almost seemed like she was trying to point out that I went to school and got this degree just to prove my child wrong, which again is another issue for me. She, on Dr. Phil, she had her daughter come out, and her daughter was just kind of saying, hey, you're not just having an issue with JB's because all of a sudden he decided to transition. You've been having issues with him for years. The parenting style is not good. And her daughter was trying to have an educated conversation, and Angela came off very ignorant. Like, I don't care what y'all have to say. He a man, and that's just what it is. And y'all trying to call me stupid or crazy to call him a woman. He's not a woman. It just was so ignorant, like the level of ignorance. And as a Black Republican, this is who we have representing us as Black female Republicans. Bitches like her and Diamond and Silk and Candace Owens. This is what we have to represent us. There's no more Condoleezza Rices. There's no Mia Loves. We have this level of brown Marjorie Taylor Greens marching around the world. Well, that's another video to discuss my disgust. And though that interview with Dr. Phil was not enlightening, it was extremely disappointing on Angela's side, and she didn't listen. She didn't want to hear either side of the argument, and she didn't want to acknowledge JB's as just a child and respect as a child. It was civil. The argument was civil. It wasn't, it wasn't that big of a deal. It made her look really bad, and her whole supporting the LGBT community went out the window with that. But it was fine. Fast forward to her Hollywood Unlocked interview. She became unhinged. Completely unhinged. And I get it. She went in there on gas because Jason asked her about Donald Trump. There was a Donald Trump question at the very beginning of the interview, and she was already defensive. And she said, oh, I didn't know I was coming on here to talk about, to defend my position on Trump or anything. I didn't know. I thought I was coming on here to talk about, my son. So she already had her guard up. And I understand that. A lot of black Trump supporters don't want to have to keep defending this position over and over again. And to them, I say, too fucking bad. You're going to have to, because people have a hard time understanding it. I'm a black Republican, and I do not support Trump. One, mainly because he doesn't support Republican values. That's the main thing. He can spout all this pro-life crap to you all, to a lot of people, and they buy it, but he is not pro-life. He says it because he knows that's what Republicans want to hear. There's a lot of things he says that he, in rallies and stuff, that he does not practice in real life. He is not a Christian. He does not espouse Christian values. But again, that's a whole other argument. Not going to go into that. So she was on gas with the interview. And then they started getting into the conversation. Blue, to me, one of the co-hosts on Hollywood Unlocked had an agenda and came in there a little like, I just want to go off on her and put her in her place. Damage and Jason seemed like, even though there was a little scutterbutt in the beginning with conversations about her, about Angela, they seemed like they actually wanted to have an open conversation, and they were willing to be respectful on certain points. Like, Angela didn't want to call JB's her daughter, only her son. So Jason was like, we can just call JB's your child. And he was doing that. Damage got in one question, but Angela got to the point of saying, do you want me to, if your mom wanted to identify as a crackhead hoe, would you be okay with that? And that's where it went left. It's like you're not even hearing the actual argument. You're literally taking things that are counterproductive arguments to make your point. Almost like she was purposely trying to rile up the argument, the same way I think Blue was trying to do, to fit some sort of narrative in her head. Comparing wanting to be called a crackhead hoe and wanting to identify as female is like comparing apples to shoes. They have one thing in common. They're both objects. That's the only thing they have in common. And she continued to get riled up. And of course, Jason, being Jason, it ended up being into a cussing, screaming match. Angela posted the video on her channel where she turned the comments off, which I think is a cowardly way to not actually allow people to have a conversation. I would never turn my comments off. She also only has comments of people who following her, and she was deleting comments that she didn't like on her Instagram page where another video was posted. So she's never really, it seems like, about having the conversation or being honest. There was maybe one point during that interview where she asked a legitimate question about what's a pansexual. And I think she genuinely wanted to know that. I was like, okay, cool. She genuinely wanted to know. Even Jason was like, I didn't know what that was either. So let me explain it to you. We're all here on the same page on that. But to me, Angela is and will always be an ignorant ghetto woman. She can spouse off her education and think that she's on the same level as other people. I ain't got no gas in the car. Dang it. And think that she's on the same level as other people because she's a Republican and she's, on this level now and she's so educated, but she's not. She's not. She's just another misinformed black woman when it comes to certain issues. And I'm just disappointed that this is who representation is for black women. What I will agree with a lot of trans parents, it's hard to let go of your child when their child transitions. I'm a parent, and I have already built up the life that I want my twins to have and my son to have, and they didn't ask me nothing. I just built that life up in my head and have it all pretty, and I can see my daughter on her wedding day in her sari. My husband's Indian. In her sari, I can see my son accepting awards, going off to Harvard. I can see my daughter, going off to travel internationally to work for the high courts in different countries. I have all these things built up in my mind, and my children just learned how to smile with their own face muscles. They're only 9 weeks. So I get as a parent, you have to let all those dreams die and go away. And that's hard to do. But as parents, the other part of being a parent is you have to let your child be your child, whether it's hard for you or not. So that's the video. That's my opinion. Drop it in the comments. I'm so glad I got to do this video and to put my thoughts together where it can make sense. So please comment, like, subscribe to my channel. I want to hear what other people have to say. If you're an Angela Stanton supporter, fine. Let's go. Let's have that conversation. I'm ready. If you want to know how I feel about Trump, that's fine too. If you want to know how I feel about the trans community, I'm fine with that as well. But I want to have the conversation. So again, like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Mwah.